Hello everyone, I am Dr. Aishwarya Balap. In this lecture, we are going to discuss anti-anginal drugs, the second part, in which we are going to discuss about calcium channel blockers. Excitation, contraction, coupling muscle. In working of heart, stimulation of the cardiac cell initiates the process of excitation, which has been related to ion fluxes through the cell membrane. Depolarization of the tissue in the atria of the heart is mediated by two inwardly directed ionic currents. When the cardiac cell potential reaches its threshold, ion channels in the membrane are opened and sodium enters the cell through ion channels. These channels give rise to the fast sodium current that is responsible for the rapidly rising phase 0 of the ventricular action potential. The second current is caused by the slow activation of an L-type calcium ion channel that allows the movement of calcium into the cell. This slow channel contributes to the maintenance of the plateau phase, that is phase 2 of the cardiac action potential. The calcium that enters with the action potential initiates a second and larger release of calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum in the cell. This secondary release of calcium is sufficient to initiate the contractile process of cardiac muscle. So, this calcium or presence of intracellular calcium is very much important for the contraction of the cardiac muscles. So before that, we will see how this potential and where exactly this calcium works, as we are discussed in the last slide. Here in ventricular cell, you can see this potential energy diagram. So here membrane potential versus time. So you can say that at phase 0, depolarization because of the opening of fast sodium channels and potassium flux decreases here in this phase 0, and at phase 1, partial repolarization because of a rapid decrease in sodium ion passage as fast sodium channels close. Phase 2, which is very important to know the working of calcium channel blockers, is this is the plateau phase in which the movement of calcium ions out of the cell maintains depolarization. And phase 3 is repolarization. Sodium and calcium channels are closed and membrane potential returns to baseline. In phase 4, resting membrane potential minus 90 millivolt resulting from the activity of the sodium potassium ATPase pump, which creates a negative intracellular potential because of the exchange of 3 sodium ions for only 2 potassium ions. So these are the ventricular cell membrane potential. It works. Cardiac cells also contains the pacemaker cells, but its polarization and repolarization is different. That's why the potential energy diagram is also different. So here phases 1 and 2 do not occur. Phase 4, pacemaker potential. Here, because of slow inward current of sodium and a voltage gated increase in calcium conductance via T channels. So here T type of calcium channels open. Phase 0, depolarization. As opposed to the ventricular muscle action potential, this occurs because of voltage gated calcium channels opening. So here you can see that at the start of the phase 0, this L type of calcium channels opens. And phase 3 is repolarization. This is because of a decrease in potassium. But as the we are going to deal with ventricular cell most, or the calcium channel blockers will act majorly, calcium channel blockers will act on the ventricular cells. So contraction of cardiac and other muscle occurs from a reaction between actin and myosin. In contrast to smooth vascular muscle, the contractile process in cardiac muscle involves a complex of proteins attached to myosin, which modulates the interaction between actin and myosin. And this complex of proteins contains troponins I, C, and T, and tropomyosin. Free calcium ions bind to troponin C, uncovering binding sites on the actin molecule and allowing interaction with myosin, causing contraction of the muscle. The contraction of vascular smooth muscle, like that of cardiac muscle, is regulated by the concentration of cytoplasmic calcium ions. The mechanism by which the contraction is effected, however, includes a calcium and calmodulin dependent kinase as opposed to a calcium sensitive troponin tropomyosin complex. The activating effect depends on a different type of reaction. The elevated free cytosolic calcium in vascular smooth muscle cells binds to a high affinity binding protein, calmodulin. So, how these ion channels and calcium? So, calcium is also involved in the contraction of these cardiac muscles through calmodulin, but ion channels will play the major role for the activity of calcium channel blockers. So, calcium ions play an important role in the regulation of many cellular processes such as synaptic transmission and muscle contraction. The role of calcium in these cellular functions is as a second messenger, for example, regulating enzymes and ion channels. The entry of extracellular calcium in the cytosol of myocardial cells and the release of calcium from intracellular storage sites is important for initiating contractions of the myocardium. So, whatever the extracellular calcium is there, the entry of that calcium and also the release of intracellular calcium mainly initiates the contraction of the myocardium. So normally the concentration of calcium in the extracellular fluid is in the millimolar range, whereas the intracellular concentration of free calcium is less than 10 raised to minus 7 molar, even though the total cellular concentration may be 10 raised to minus 3 molar or higher. Most of the calcium is stored within intracellular organelles or tightly bound to intracellular proteins. The free calcium needed to satisfy the requirements of contraction resulting from a stimulus may result from activation of calcium channels on the cell membrane or the release of calcium from bound internal stores. Each of these methods of increasing free cytosolic calcium involves channels that are selective for the calcium ion. Calcium channel blockers reduce or prevent the increase of free cytosolic calcium ions by interfering with the transport of calcium ions through these pores. So, calcium channel blockers mainly act on these calcium channels, which plays the major role in the release of these intracellular calciums as well as the uh, transport of extracellular calcium into the cell. Most calcium involved in biological systems occurs as hydroxyapatite, naturally occurring mineral from the calcium apatite, a static stabilizing structure like that found in bone. So the remaining calcium is ionic. Ionic calcium functions as a biochemical regulator more often within the cell. The ionic composition of the cytosol in excitable cells, including cardiac and smooth muscle cells, is controlled to a large extent by the plasma membrane, which prevents the free movement of ions across this barrier. Present in the membranes are ion carrying channels that open in response to either a change in membrane potential or binding of a ligand. Calcium sensitive channels include, there are majorly three types of calcium sensitive channels are there. First one, sodium to calcium exchanger, which transports three sodium ions in return for one calcium. Second, a voltage dependent calcium channel which provides the route for entry of calcium for excitation and contraction in cardiac and smooth muscle cells and is the focus of the channel blocking agents used in medicine. And the last type of calcium channel is receptor operated calcium channels mediated by ligand binding to membrane receptors such as in the action of epinephrine on the adrenergic receptor. The membrane of the sarcolemma within the cell also has ion conducting channels that facilitate movement of calcium ions from storage loci in the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So, these calcium channel blockers will be mainly acting on the second type of calcium channel, that is, which provides the route of entry of calcium for excitation and contraction in cardiac and smooth muscles. There are four types of calcium channels, again differing in location and function have been identified other than the first classification. Here they are depending on the location and function, they are differentiated. Here first one is the L type, located in skeletal, cardiac and smooth muscles, causing contraction of muscle cells. Second type is T type, found in pacemaker cells, causing calcium entry inactivated at more negative potentials and more rapidly than the L type. Third is N type, found in neurons and acting in transmitter release. Fourth one is P type, located in Purkinje cells, but whose function is unknown. So calcium antagonists act only on the L type channel to produce their pharmacological effects. The L channels are so called because once the membrane has been depolarized, their action is long lasting. Once the membrane has been depolarized, L channels must be phosphorylated to open. So that's why L type of these calcium channels are more useful for the working of these calcium channel blockers. So what are these calcium channel blockers and what are the different types of calcium channel blockers? First one is phenylalkyl amine. It is example is verapamil. Second one is benzothiazepine. Example is diltiazem. Third type of calcium channel blocker is dihydropyridines. Examples are nifedipine, felodipine, amlodipine, nitrendipine, nimodipine, lacidipine. These prototype compounds sometimes are termed the first generation of calcium channel blockers because two of the groups of drug classes have been expanded by the introduction of the second generation of more potent analogs. So, if we consider these verapamil, nifedipine, and diltiazem as first generation for these class of calcium channel blockers, anipamil and bepredil is the second generation in phenylalkylamines. Then amlodipine, felodipine, isradipine, nicardipine, nimodipine are the second generation in these dihydropyridine type of or class of calcium channel blockers. The specific calcium channel antagonists, verapamil, nifedipine, and diltiazem, interact at specific sites on the calcium channel protein. These blockers do not occlude or stop the channel physically, but bind to sites in the channel because they can promote both channel activation and antagonism. So, affinity for binding sites on the channel varies depending on the status of the channel. The channel can exist in either an open, resting, or inactivated state, and the equilibrium between them is determined by stimulus frequency and membrane potential. So these will be in the equilibrium, but at three states majorly these channels will work, that is open, resting, or inactivated. Verapamil and diltiazem do not bind to a channel in the resting state, only after the channel has been opened. They are ionized, water soluble calcium entry blockers that reach their binding sites by the hydrophilic pathway when the channel is open. Verapamil and diltiazem are use dependent, that is, their calcium blocking activity is a function of the frequency of contractions. An increase in contraction frequency causes a reduction rather than augmentation or increase of contractions. Nifedipine is a neutral molecule at physiological pH and can cause interference with the calcium in the open or closed state. In the closed state, nifedipine can traverse or travel the phospholipid bilayer to reach its binding site because of its lipid solubility. So, verapamil and diltiazem, if you can observe, is more related with the hydrophilic pathway, whereas nifedipine is a lipid soluble compound. So, what are the cardiovascular effects of calcium ion channel blockers? All calcium antagonists yet developed are vasodilators. Vasodilation is a result of the uncoupling of the contractile mechanism of vascular smooth muscle, which requires calcium. Coronary artery muscle tone is reduced in healthy humans but is particularly pronounced in a condition of coronary spasm. So, peripheral arteriole resistance is reduced more than venous beds. The vasodilatory effect of this drug is the basis for their use in the control of angina and hypertension. So, instead of only coronary artery muscles, the effect is also can be seen in the peripheral arterioles. Although verapamil, nifedipine, and diltiazem can cause vasodilation, they are not equally effective at blocking the calcium channels found in various tissues. The phenylalkylamine verapamil and the benzothiazepine diltiazem have both cardiac and vascular actions. These drugs have antiarrhythmic, antianginal, and antihypertensive activity. They depress the cardiac neural network and so slow sinus node atomicity, prolong atrioventricular nodal conductance, and depress myocardial contractility, as well as reduce peripheral vascular resistance to prevent a coronary vascular spasm. So this effect is not only related to the only cardiac cells, but also peripheral vascular resistance is also reduced by these verapamil and diltiazem, but nifedipine and other 1,4-dihydropyridines are more effective at causing vasodilation than affecting pacemaker and tension responses in the heart. This is especially important because selectivity occurs as a consequence of disease states. So, hypertensive smooth muscles is more sensitive to calcium channel blockers than is normotensive tissue. This makes verapamil and diltiazem more useful in ischemic conditions because they have a more profound effect on cardiac muscle calcium channels. So, the inhibition of calcium influx into cardiac tissue by calcium antagonist is also the basis for the use of these drugs as antiarrhythmic agents. The calcium channel blockers dampen calcium dependent automaticity in the regular pacemaker cells in the sinoatrial node and depress the origination of ectopic foci. So, automaticity is nothing but the ability of heart cells to spontaneously depolarize and generate an action potential. Intracellular calcium signaling is necessary in this. So, that's why these blockers will reduce this calcium dependent automaticity, and it also depresses the origination of the ectopic foci, because ectopic foci is nothing but the abnormal pacemaker sites within the heart that display automaticity, that is it leads to one or more premature beats in arrhythmias. So actually these drugs can also be used as antiarrhythmic due to these actions. So, calcium antagonists can block re entry pathways in myocardial tissue, an integral component of arrhythmias. Numerous side effects in the heart, like bradycardia. Bradycardia is nothing but it can slower the rate of heart. Decreased cardiac contractility and reduced AV conductance are traced to calcium channel blocking activity. So, these are the side effects for the calcium channel blockers which you can observe. We will discuss one by one the calcium channel blockers, starting with the first one, that is verapamil. It was introduced in 1962 as a coronary vasodilator and is the prototype of the calcium antagonist used in cardiovascular diseases. It is used in the treatment of angina pectoris, arrhythmias from ischemic myocardial syndromes, and supraventricular arrhythmias. It is absorbed rapidly after oral administration. The drug is metabolized quickly and as a result has low bioavailability. The liver is the main site of first pass metabolism, forming several products. The preferential metabolic steps involves N-dealkylation followed by O-demethylation and subsequent conjugation of the product before elimination. The metabolites have no significant biological activity. Verapamil has an elimination half-life of approximately 5 hours. The drug reduces systemic vascular resistance and mean blood pressure with minor effects on cardiac output. In the side effects of this verapamil, sometimes or due to the prolonged use of verapamil, the calcium gets trapped in the cell, so the cell is more prompt to the contractions, and it may cause the atrial fibrillation and death also. So long term use of verapamil will not be prescribed. Second type of or second example of calcium channel blocker is diltiazem hydrochloride. It was developed and introduced in Japan as a cardiovascular agent to treat angina pectoris. It was observed to dilate peripheral arteries and arterioles. The drug increases myocardial oxygen supply by relieving coronary artery spasm and reduces myocardial oxygen demand by decreasing heart rate and reducing overload. Diltiazem hydrochloride is used in patients with variant angina. The drug has electrophysiological properties similar to those of verapamil and is used in clinically similar treatment conditions as an antiarrhythmic agent but is less potent. The drug is absorbed rapidly and almost completely from the digestive tract. It reaches peak plasma levels within 1 hour after administration in gelatin capsules. Oral formulations on the market are sustained release preparations providing peak plasma levels 3 to 4 hours after administration. Diltiazem hydrochloride is metabolized extensively after oral dosing by first pass metabolism. As a result, the bioavailability is about 40% of the administered dose. The drug undergoes several biotransformations, including deacetylation, oxidative O and N demethylations, and conjugation of the phenolic metabolites. So here you can see the diacetyl diltiazem, the metabolite, which is of the various metabolites, only primary metabolite, that is diacetyl diltiazem, is pharmacologically active. So diacetyl diltiazem has about 40 to 50% of the potency of the parent compound. Next calcium channel blocker is nifedipine. It is a dihydropyridine derivative that bears no structural resemblance to other calcium antagonists. So it is not a nitrate, but its nitro group is essential for its anti-anginal effect. So as a class, the dihydropyridines possess a central pyridine ring that is partially saturated. To this, positions 2 and 6 are substituted with an alkyl group that may play a role in the agent's duration of action. In addition, positions 3 and 5. These 3 and 5 are carboxylic groups that must be protected with an ester functional group. Depending on the type of ester used at these sites, the agent can be distributed to various parts of the body. Finally, position 4 requires an aromatic substitution possessing an electron withdrawing group, that is chloride or nitro group, in the ortho or meta position. The prototype of this class, nifedipine, has potent peripheral vasodilatory properties. It inhibits the voltage-dependent calcium channel in the vascular smooth muscle but has little or no direct depressant effect on the SA or AV nodes, even though it inhibits calcium current in normal and isolated cardiac tissues. Nifedipine is more effective in patients whose anginal episodes are caused by coronary vasospasm and is used in the treatment of vasospastic angina as well as classic angina pectoris. Because of its strong vasodilatory properties, it is used in selected patients to treat hypertension. Nifedipine is absorbed efficiently on oral or buccal administration. A substantial amount, that is 90%, is protein bound. Systemic availability of an oral dose of the drug may be approximately 65%. Only a trace of unchanged nifedipine is found in the urine. Amlodipine, it is a second generation dihydropyridine derivative of the prototypical molecule nifedipine. Like most of the second generation dihydropyridine derivatives, it has greater selectivity for the vascular smooth muscle than myocardial tissue, a longer half-life, and less negative inotropy or contractility than the prototypical nifedipine. Amlodipine is used in the treatment of chronic stable angina, in the management of mild to moderate essential hypertension. It is marketed as the benzene sulfonic acid salt, that is Besalate. Amlodipine was approved in September 2007 as combination product with olmesartan, uh, an angiotensin 2 receptor antagonist for the treatment of hypertension. It is also marketed in combination with atorvastatin uh, for the management of high cholesterol and high blood pressure. Another calcium channel blocker in the dihydropyridine is felodipine. Felodipine is a second generation dihydropyridine channel blocker of the nifedipine type. It is more selective for vascular smooth muscle than for myocardial tissue and serves as an effective vasodilator. The drug is used in the treatment of angina and mild to moderate essential hypertension. Felodipine, like most of the dihydropyridines, exhibit a high degree of protein binding and has a half-life ranging from 10 to 18 hours. Next, calcium channel blocker is nicardipine hydrochloride. It is a more potent vasodilator of the systemic coronary, cerebral, and renal vasculature and has been used in the treatment of mild, moderate, and severe hypertension. The drug is also used in the management of stable angina. Next example is nimodipine. It is another dihydropyridine calcium channel blocker, but differs in that it dilates the cerebral blood vessels more effectively than do the other dihydropyridine derivatives. This drug is indicated for treatment of subarachnoid hemorrhage associated neurological deficits.